afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mirado Krikorian from the News Center in Damascus. Addressing the last session of the fifth ordinary cycle of the People's Assembly's first legislative term, Assembly Speaker Mohammed Jihad al-Laham said the terrorist war on Syria has failed and it's about to be completely defeated. Laham said Syria would continue its confrontation of terrorism, calling for unifying efforts to stand in the face of its supporters. Laham said Syria is going to Geneva too with a remarkable ability to propose solutions without any dictates or foreign intervention. Prime Minister Dr. Wael al-Halaqi has said Syria has been living a difficult war and every citizen is called upon to confront such war. Al-Halaqi added that all the government decisions have been focusing on the urgent measures to confront the repercussions of the crisis in order to meet citizens' basic needs and support the stability of the Syrian pound. Al-Halaqi pointed out that the greatest challenge facing the government is relief work that involves helping the citizens who have been displaced. He said more than 4 million food baskets and 2 million health baskets have been so far distributed. Those who think we are going to Geneva too to hand over the authority are illusioned, Al-Halaqi affirmed. Everything that will be discussed on the table of dialogue in Geneva too will be referred to a referendum because the Syrian people are the decision makers, Al-Halaqi stressed. Al-Halaqi said the Syrian-Iranian relations are as solid as deeply rooted as the relations with the BRICS countries. Russian President Vladimir Putin has reiterated his country's support for the convention of an international conference on Syria in Geneva. The UN Secretary General's spokesman Martin Neserky said President Putin has affirmed to Mr. Ban Ki-moon during a telephone conversation Russia's strong support for such conference due to be held in Geneva on the 22nd of next month. The two sides affirmed the need to combine international efforts for the sake of combating the terrorist threat in the world, particularly in the wake of the two blasts that hit the Russian city of Volgograd and killed and wounded dozens of citizens. On its part, Iran stressed support for a political solution and keenness on the interest of Syria and the Syrian people, whether it participates in Geneva too or not. The Iranian Assistant Foreign Minister for Arab and African Affairs, Hossein Abdullahian, said inviting Iran to take part in Geneva too was still not ruled out. He affirmed that his country's role in regional development could not be denied. What is important for us, he asserted, is to reach a result in Syria through political solutions and with the participation of the Syrian people. It is essential, Abdullahian pointed out, that the Syrian people get the chance to restore security in their homeland, so that they will be able to decide their own future through the march of democracy. Welcome back. 3 civilians were injured in a terrorist attack by mortar shells on the houses in Jaramana of Damascus countryside. Police sources said that the terrorists fired 3 mortar shells that landed at the vicinity of the bakery in Daf Sakhr neighborhood in Jaramana, injuring 3 citizens and inflicting material damage in the area. By the help of the Syrian Arab Army, thousands of civilians in Adra al-Ummaliya escape from the terrorists. Residents of Adra took their decision to escape, defying the terrorists who committed the most terrible crimes against them. Encouraged by the Syrian Arab Army, the civilians who were held as hostages revolted and came out of the shelters, throwing stones at the terrorists who tried to attack them by shooting at them during their evacuation. However, the Syrian Arab Army protected the evacuees with an umbrella of gunfire, preventing any serious injuries among them. Some armed terrorists tried to flee from Adra al-Ummaliya, disguised as civilians among the crowds, but they were arrested by the Syrian Arab soldiers. The terrorists who were arrested were nearly unconscious, apparently under drug. In Daraa suburbs, the Syrian Arab Army has eliminated an armed terrorist group that tried to attack a military checkpoint in western Al-Mleha. The army also destroyed terrorist hideouts in Atman, the surroundings of the ancient customs center, and Al-Masri Square and Al-Karak neighborhood. In Homs, 3 people, including a pregnant woman, were killed and several others injured in a mortar shell attack by the terrorists at Al-Haj Atif Square in Al-Mahatta neighborhood. In Homs, the Syrian Arab Army has destroyed terrorist gatherings in Babhoud, Al-Safsafi and Al-Warshe neighborhoods. The army also eliminated a large number of terrorists in Tel Dahab and Al-Nasiriyah in Al-Hula, as well as in several other areas. In Aleppo, the Syrian Arab Army continues to pursue armed terrorist groups in Az-Zabdiyeh, eliminating the terrorists who had tried to attack the inhabitants in Al-Hamidiyeh neighborhood. In Idlib suburbs, the Syrian Arab Army has targeted terrorists from Jabhat al-Nusra in Al-Habayt village, eliminating a large number of them, the majority of whom were non-Syrians. The Central Committee of Fath al-Intifada movement stressed in a statement on the 49th anniversary of the inception of the movement its firm stand on Syria's side in confronting the terrorist war waged against it. The committee said the colonialist forces and their stooges have been working to impose their hegemony and spread sedition among the citizens of the homeland. The committee reiterated adherence to the right of resistance and armed struggle against Israeli occupation, pointing out that the enemy's schemes, which aim to liquidate the Palestinian people's cause, will fail thanks to the steadfastness of the Palestinians and their determination to attain their full rights. Out of more than 10,000 Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails, most of them held without trial, the occupation authorities released the 3rd batch of Palestinian prisoners, which includes 26 former prisoners who were detained before 1993. Crowds of Palestinians received the released prisoners at the camp of Aufar and at Zaytuna crossing in occupied Jerusalem, and also at Beit Hanun in Gaza, chanting patriotic slogans. Holding the Palestinian flags, Palestinian women, men and children waited in the cold weather for the arrival of the released prisoners. Parents and relatives welcomed their loved ones, overwhelmed with mixed feelings of bitterness and joy. Finally, in Yemen, 4 soldiers were killed and several others injured in a terrorist suicide blast that targeted the security headquarters in Aden, the largest city south of the country. Yemeni police said that a car bomb driven by a suicide bomber belonging to Al-Qaeda exploded at the front gate of the security department in Aden, killing 4 soldiers and wounding several others. Police added that the security forces foiled another terrorist suicide attack a few minutes after the first one that was aiming at the second gate of the security department. The attack came less than 24 hours after 5 soldiers were killed in an attack on a military site near the city of Ritfan in Lahej, south of the country. With this, we end our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Now to latest business and market news with Vani Genjan, but after short break.
Good afternoon. The Director of the Planning and International Cooperation Department at the Ministry of Agriculture affirmed that the ministry began distributing the agricultural grants, which include 250 kilograms of barley and wheat in Al-Hasaka, Hama and Idlib governorates. He also indicated that the ministry will cooperate with the Food and Agriculture Organization, the Agricultural Chambers Federation and the Syrian Red Crescent to follow up granting and cultivating the distributed quantities for all the targeted families. The total trading value of Damascus Securities Exchange reached 1.5 million Syrian pounds, distributed on 20 deals with a bulk of 8,000 shares. On the other hand, the DSE index was up by 0.5 points as the Arab Syrian Bank was ranked first. U.S. crude oil is poised for the fourth annual increase in 5 years, amid speculation that the crude supplies shrank for a fifth week in the U.S. futures. Futures were little changed after declining from the first settlement above $100 per barrel since October. Brent for February settlement slid 11 cents to reach $111 a barrel. European stocks advanced amid shortened trading hours for New Year's Eve, with pan-European indexes to post their biggest annual gains since 2009. U.S. stock index futures and Asian shares were little changed. Gold headed for the biggest slump in 3 decades and the first annual loss since 2000 as an improving economy cut demand for wealth protection. Spot gold retreated 28% to reach $1,199 an ounce. The yen held a second day of gains, sparing its biggest annual drop versus the dollar since 1979, on speculation that an increase in Japan's sales tax will crimp economic expansion and boost demand for the currency as a haven. With this, we conclude our news. Thank you for watching and goodbye.